The Marvel Rivals closed beta came out about 2 days ago, and I've been playing it practically non-stop. Since I'm such a big Spider-Man fan, I've been primarily maining Spider-Man with a little bit of Star-Lord sprinkled in here and there. The game has been fantastic so far, and I'm really having a great time learning all the new characters. Now that I've logged about 6 hours in the game, I figured it would be a good time for me to talk about Spider-Man specifically, and whether or not this is the best video game version of Spider-Man so far. So I'll break it down into about 3 categories, starting off with his design, then I'll talk a bit about the gameplay, and finally I'll compare it to the other very popular Spider-Man game, which is the Insomniac Spider-Man games. The original Spider-Man design for Marvel Rivals was originally met with tons of backlash. The suit looked very disjointed, with a weird checker pattern on the boots and many panel lines on the blue. The red sections still look pretty good though. Also, the back spider kind of blended into the back and didn't stand out at all. Well, Marvel heard our complaints, and for this closed beta, they actually heavily altered the design and made it so much better than it was before. They fixed the boots to synergize a lot more with the rest of the costume. They removed tons of paneling on the blue, and they also made the back spider stand out a lot more. Now what we're left with is a fantastic redesign of the Spider-Man classic suit, as opposed to a very disjointed looking Spider-Man suit. The lenses stayed the same throughout both of these designs and still have that cool Rhinout leaf flare. Spider-Man in this game is voiced by Yuri Lowenthal, who is the voice of Spider-Man in the Insomniac games. He is probably my favorite Spider-Man voice actor. He just has so much great emotion in his voice, and I really love that they got him for this game. Now, talking a bit about his moveset, Spider-Man has a lot of moves that you would expect him to have, as well as some really unique ones. Starting off with some basic ones, his primary traversal ability is, of course, his web swinging. And the web swinging is actually very difficult to master. I've been playing him for almost the entirety that I've been playing this game, and I've still only just barely started to get the hang of it. The web swinging feels very different to the Insomniac games, as it basically attaches almost above you. However, you can very much still fling yourself either into or away from the enemy team. The momentum physics in this game are very different than anything we've ever seen before, which makes it very difficult to get the hang of. The web swinging does recharge very fast, and so you will be using it a lot, which does make it a bit easier to learn. It is incredibly satisfying once you actually learn how to swing, but it does take some time. As far as his combat abilities go, he has an uppercut, which knocks enemies into the air. He has, of course, his web shooters, which allow you to do little amounts of damage. However, the web shooters can be comboed with one of his other abilities, which is his web pull or web zip. Essentially what happens is if you hit an enemy with the web shooter, then it will allow you to zip to them. However, if you shoot an enemy with the web zip, but you have not hit them with a web from your web shooter, it will pull them towards you and into your team, which is a very quick way to just absolutely decimate one of the enemy players. There's also an ability that activates when you have a Venom on your team. This game is really interesting because it has a built-in team synergy feature. Essentially what happens is when you have a certain team combo, you may unlock an additional ability. Spider-Man's unlocks when you have a Venom on your team. You get a symbiote ability, which turns you essentially into a ball of symbiote goo, which pulses, which deals lots of damage to the enemy team. It also reduces damage against you, so you can kind of just sit in the enemy team while it does damage, and then swing out because of the heavy damage reduction. Finally, talking about his ultimate, Spider-Man's ultimate allows you to fly through the air, shooting webs at the enemy team. It makes him incredibly difficult to hit, as well as gives him a small shield, so you're able to essentially swing over top of the enemies, hit your ultimate, and then deal massive amounts of damage while also webbing them up so that they cannot move. Spider-Man's ultimate is fantastic, and aside from probably Star-Lord's ultimate, it's probably the best in the game, at least in my opinion. One thing that I forgot to mention is that Spider-Man actually has a couple of passive abilities, one of them being his ability to crawl and run on walls, so basically any wall you can just run or crawl on, as well as the spider sensibility, which I believe allows him to essentially detect enemies that are flanking or are kind of behind Spider-Man. So is the Marvel Rivals Spider-Man more enjoyable than the Insomniac Spider-Man? It depends what you like. Obviously, there is minimal story to this game as it is a 6v6 team action game. So obviously, if you want a story-heavy Spider-Man game, this isn't really the game for you. However, if you like team shooter action games, and you're a big fan of the Insomniac games, and you want maybe a little bit more of a challenge, this game is definitely for you. However, if you are going to play this game, for the sake of your teammates, please learn other characters. One tricks are literally like the worst part of 6v6 action games, because if you're getting countered and you cannot swap because you have only logged all your time into one character, it makes it a literal nightmare for everyone else. I know that I've basically said that I've spent all my time on Spider-Man, but I promise you I'm learning other characters. I'm playing Star-Lord, I'm playing Venom, I'm playing Rocket. Don't be a one trick. Anyway, back to the video. In a lot of ways, it does feel similar to the Insomniac Spider-Man. He has an uppercut, you swing around, and it is just a Spider-Man video game experience. However, in my opinion, Spider-Man is far harder to play in this game than the Insomniac games. So that's another thing to factor in as well. It will primarily come down to preference as to whether or not this is a better video game experience than the Insomniac games. It really depends on your video game skill level, what you're looking for in a video game, and whether or not you're willing to put in the time to practice this character, because he is very, very difficult. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you're in the Marvel Rivals closed beta, let me know what you think. I'm having a fantastic time with this game. I think it's actually a better video game than Overwatch 2. It has far more kinetic energy in my opinion than Overwatch, and I've played about 1.5 thousand hours in Overwatch, and so that could be the reason that I really favor this game. However, I just think that overall the gameplay is actually a lot more fun. The third person makes it feel more dynamic when you're playing certain characters. It's also really satisfying having the team synergy options that unlock additional abilities. But that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.